Hi everyone, and welcome back to Lavender Cottage Fibre Arts Podcast. Today's video is going to be one of our knit and chat episodes where we knit and chat about a particular sort of crafty or fibre arts related topic for a bit, but we don't share like finished objects or whips or anything like that.
Yep.
Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge that this video is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we extend our respect to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are watching today's video.
Mm-hmm.
So the topic for today's video is basically going to be me showing you
like a show and tell
that I went a bit sort of berserk with advents. So I'm just going to show the different yarn advents that I bought.
Mm-hmm.
And so I probably...
Did we talk about advents last year?
Yes, we did.
Okay, because I'm having a bit of deja vu. But...
Yes, and last year I actually just had photos of each one, but I have actually bought them all downstairs, so I'll actually show them to each one of them to you, because I actually haven't started using any of them yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not, well, it's only just gone the 1st of Feb today, so...
Yeah, so I mean, some people obviously start knitting with their advent from the 1st of December. Like, some people aim
or
to
do it
sort
as a bit of like a knit along type thing.
But I guess the thing with that is that you haven't seen all the colours before you pick a project. And for me personally, I think I just want to see the full advent before I choose a project, because I just think like not all patterns go well with all yarns.
Do any like advents kind of designed as a knit along, like as an advent that comes with a suggested pattern?
Yeah, some of them do come with a suggested pattern, or a couple of the ones that I purchased actually included a pattern. So you, like with the advent, you got like a package deal, like a QR code that takes you to a Ravelry
to a pattern
download. Or some of them it was, I think, some of them the patterns were specifically designed for that advent. Mm-hmm. But obviously other people can purchase them too, but it was designed to be used with that advent. But I think some of them were also just sort of other pre-existing patterns, but they gave you a sort of a unique code to use on Ravelry to download the pattern for free. Like the pattern was included as part of the advent. So yeah, I haven't actually started knitting with any of the advents that I bought yet. Oh god, I've just totally slipped my mind what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I think I did take photos, so maybe I will be able to put that in the description box or something like that, but I can't quite remember exactly all of the extras that came with each advent. I have a sort of a vague memory, but I can't remember exactly what came with which advents, so I'll try to mention if there was something in particular, but I won't have exactly all the details, and I can't quite remember either which ones came with a pattern and which ones didn't. I think it's probably about a 50-50 kind of split whether or not they come with a pattern. And I think usually the pattern is also kind of a mystery. Like, they don't tell you, oh, with my advent purchase I will give you a code to download the Sophie shawl, for example. It will be like you'll get a pattern that's designed.
Will they at least say for like a shawl or whatever?
I think most, some
people might say, oh, I don't really wear shawls, or I don't really.
I think most wear, advent
cardigans.
I think most patterns that are specifically designed for advent knitting are usually for shawls.
Oh, okay.
So before we get into that, I guess we'll just very briefly,
ahead, didn't we? We normally introduce what project we're working
on. I'm just knitting a vanilla sock. These are going to be a pair of socks for my dad for his birthday, which is on Tuesday, I believe. So I'm about halfway through the foot, and I've been knitting these 2 at a time. So I should be done by his birthday. They might not be blocked by his birthday. And the yarn that I'm using was just a one-of-a-kind colorway from Ruby and Rose's yarn. And the mini that I've just used for the heel and for some stripes in the cuff, and I'll use it for the toe as well, is from Ren and Ollie, who I think they're South Australian based. But I actually feel like maybe they're not dyeing yarn anymore, because I think their Instagram, the last post on their Instagram was from like 2023. So I think maybe, like, they didn't announce like we're shutting our business, but I just haven't seen any activity from them on social media at all. So I think maybe they may still have some yarn for sale, but it seems like maybe they're not actively dyeing anything else. But I just thought it went nicely with this one-of-a-kind colorway. And the one from Ren and Ollie is called Evergreen, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't get it anymore. And so what are you knitting on?
So I have started on the Tip Top Tank, which is a free pattern from Maker Maker, which is, if you remember in our previous episode, the green tank top that you knitted.
My Enviro bag top. Yeah.
So I'm using the same pattern.
Yep.
So I've done about that much. I only casted it on, I think, 9 days ago. So
yeah, I feel like
I've
this has really
decent progress.
sparked a bit of a knitting.
Yes, I think also because it's just like
burst.
mostly in stockinette, that it's fairly easy to do.
Stockinette in the round, Yep.
Yeah, that's fairly easy.
What's the yarn that you're using for this?
So it's just a sort of commercial yarn from Lion brand, and it's called True Boo. Yes, True Boo. They have one also called Kobu. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they have a few, and I feel like they have one called like Nubu or something. Does boo mean that it has
it's
bamboo?
from bamboo. Yeah, that it's got bamboo in it. So I think this is like a bamboo and cotton blend. I'm not 100% sure, but it's just a like a...
Maybe we'll put that in the description box as well, because I'm sure we can look that up.
Yeah, because I think when I measured it before, it was about 23 centimetres, and according to the pattern, I think I have to go to about 33 centimetres before I start doing like the V-neck and the armholes and stuff. So I think I've got maybe about another 10 centimetres of just like very easy knitting to go before I start doing the more complicated bits of the pattern.
Cool. All right, so let's get into the Advent sharing. So I'll just kind of show the ones that I bought one at a time. Cards on the table, I went overboard with Advent. I guess I don't really have an explanation as to why.
Well, I mean, you don't need to have an explanation.
I think probably one thing that it is hard with Advents, I guess, because you buy them all ahead of time, and then I think it is a bit sort of out of sight, out of mind, and then like the end of November comes around and you think, oops, I actually didn't realise that I bought this many Advents. I do like them all. You definitely use them all. I feel like though maybe once you've seen them all, there maybe is a little bit of sort of repetition in terms of like the vibes of them, just like the colour palettes, which is obviously my fault. Like I saw the mood boards.
I mean, I suppose it's just you gravitate towards things of a certain
I guess
colour palettes.
You like what you like.
Certain aesthetics, and then maybe just reminding yourself next year if you don't want to go, to put it in your words, overboard. And I guess like this is nice, but I have already ordered something very similar.
This is obviously all relative to myself. So for some people, this is a ridiculous amount of yarn. Probably for other people, this is a normal amount of yarn, and for other people, this might be
hardly any yarn.
A scant amount of yarn.
I don't know that it would be a scant amount for anyone,
but obviously this is just like relative to myself. And I think one thing that I want to do this year. Sorry, I know I keep delaying showing you all the Advents that I bought, but one thing that I do want to do this year is I have created like a few themes for myself, and I want to make a mood board for each of them, and then give Pia like 5 or 6 different mood boards, and then give her kind of access to my mini stash, and then she'll pick a mood board and make me an Advent from that. But because I won't know which mood board you've chosen, it will still kind of be a surprise, and it might even take me like a few days to kind of figure out which Advent you've made for me, kind of thing. Because one of the Advents that I bought, it actually the yarn didn't come in paper bags. It came in like a cardboard box, and then each day had a little cardboard box, so I can actually reuse that to make my own Advent. Whereas I feel like the ones that come in paper bags, like, I mean, I'm fine with it coming in paper bags because they're recyclable, but you kind of rip the bag. Like, it's hard to open the bags without tearing them. So it is hard to reuse them. None of the ones that I bought came in. I think some Advents, they do like fabric bags as well, which I guess would be good in terms of that you could reuse it to make your own Advent. But I know some people also say, I don't want fabric bag because I just don't want 24 tiny fabric bags. Like, I'd rather...
you could also use that just to make like a regular advent
like a chocolate advent
with chocolates
or other little... Like, I know I think it's not really much of a thing in Australia, but in Germany, for example, kids get advents and, like, each day will have, like, a small gift. Like, I don't know, a nice pen or a lip balm or... you know, some stickers or like it's not necessarily chocolate every day. Like I think most like children's advents in Australia are just chocolate every day. I feel like in Germany it's more like you get some small gift every day. I feel like when I was in Germany on exchange, the girls in the house where I was doing it, most of the stuff they got in their advent was like stationery. But yeah, anyway, so that's my idea for Advent for 2025 is to do like an Advent from my stash. We'll see if I can sort of stay true to that. And I think the other thing for myself is like previously when I was like sort of tracking yarn, how much yarn I purchased and used up kind of thing, I was only counting it when it actually arrived. So I think I was like, oh, I haven't actually bought that much yarn this year. But because a lot of it was like in pre-orders, then when it arrived, the sort of amount like sort of went through the roof. And I was like, oh, actually I had already bought quite a lot of yarn. So that is one thing that I'm changing for this year forwards. Once I've bought the yarn, I'm actually going to say this is already in my stash. Even if I don't physically have it yet. And I'm hoping that will kind of help keep me a bit more
I guess track. You can see, I've already spent this much money this year or whatever. And I suppose that then you can also think about, there's a yarn market or something coming up that I would maybe like to purchase something. So because that's coming up, I should hold off on buying things online and things like that.
Yeah, well, and that's my other plan for this year is that I really do want to try and that I have to use up. So to be able to buy a 100 gram skein of yarn, I need to use 200 grams of yarn. Okay. So I want to use double kind of what I purchase. And so far I have stuck to that. So I did put this on my Instagram, but for the month of January, I actually haven't bought any yarn whatsoever. So I'm in front I've used 130 grams, so I can buy 65. So I can't even buy a skein of yarn yet. I still need to use more yarn. And I've decided to keep track of that in terms of grams rather than meters, just because I feel like grams kind of reflects the amount of space that it takes up. Like a 100 gram skein of fingering weight yarn kind of takes up the same amount of space as a 100 gram skein of bulky weight yarn. So that's kind of why I decided to do it like that, but we'll see how we go. So I think I've been procrastinating about showing you the yarn for long enough. So I probably won't really be knitting for the rest of the video. I'll just be chatting.
Just knit and listen to you.
But Pia will continue knitting whilst I show you my advents. So I think actually only one of the advents I bought, as far as I'm aware, just looking at them, was from an Australian dyer. And this also is the only one that I bought that was a DK weight. And I did do the thing, the sort of what people do of like threading them all onto, I just thread them onto some like white acrylic yarn I have to keep them in the order, like just in case you do, like you don't have to knit them in the order, but if you did want to, you can. So this is the first one I got. So this is 24 20 gram minis in a DK weight, and this one also did come with a day 25 skein as well. And so you can see from the label here, this is from Hodgepodge Skeins, and the theme of this one was gemstones. So each day there were actually a bunch of gemstones, to be honest, that I've never heard of as well. But yeah, so gemstones was the theme of this one. So it's kind of like a rainbow, but a bit like, I feel like I do like that kind of advent that's like rainbow, but not quite kind of thing. I do like that as kind of like a color theme. This one though, she actually didn't have a mood board. She just said it was a gemstone theme. So I suppose it was a bit of a shot in the dark, but I didn't purchase her advent last year, but I did, I shouldn't say last year, the year before
in 2023.
I didn't buy it, but I did quite like it. So I guess And this one did come in like this sort of like sack thing, so I can kind of keep it in here. And I think the extras from this, I know you got a gingerbread cookie, you got a tape measure, some stitch markers, and maybe a few other bits and bobs. But yeah, so that was that one.
And do you have any plans for what you're going to do?
Well, because this is a
yet,
DK weight one, I think it would do like maybe a blanket.
Okay.
Might be a good one to use that for. And I don't know, the Day 25 skein, I don't know if I'll use it.
And what kind of
like
size of blanket would you get from?
Probably like a
amount?
lap blanket, or like maybe a stroller blanket for a baby as well. Yeah, so that is Hodgepodge Skeins, the Gemstones Advent. All right, just thinking what is kind of next cab off the rank. I think I'll pick up this one in front of me. And this one, some of them also I did purchase. They had like the daily advent and a weekly one, and some I did actually purchase both options. So yes, I did really go all in on advents in 2024. So this one is the Yarn Badger. So she's a UK based dyer, and the theme of this advent was Lapland Adventure. And I think that one there was a mood board that she had. So let me see if I can find, I do still have, yeah, this was the card.
All the little postcards.
There we go. With that kind of has the colours scheme. So that was the daily one. And then the you also randomly with that one in the package, I don't think it was advertised, but she also just sent me a skein of like bare undyed yarn. So but I don't really know what I'm going to do with that, but I'm sure I'll find something to do with it. And then I also did get the weekly advent from her, which was 5 skeins of sock yarn. So I'll just kind of try and put them. So these kind of mirrored the, I guess, the color progression of the daily advent as well. So that was, oh, it's hard to hold them all up at once, but that was kind of the, so it goes from that sort of mauvey to sort of more periwinkle and into green, brown and grey. So I think these 100 gram skeins, honestly, I'll probably just use them to make socks rather than knitting them together into a project. That one, in terms of extras, I remember there were 1 or 2 sort of progress keepers. You got a scented candle. And that's just most, I think that's what I'm remembering off the top of my head. And that was the one that came in the cardboard box with like each day was in its own little cardboard box. So that one I will definitely keep the box to kind of reuse for Pia to make me a, should we call it a stash vent? Do you think that would be a...
Yeah, I guess a catchy name for it.
Stash vent. I suppose you could also do one called the scrap vent. If you use like leftovers, you could make an advent from leftovers. I'll just...
And so the weekly ones you said you're going to do socks with, but did you say what you're going to do with the daily ones?
No, I haven't decided. I think there is one that I think I really do know specifically what I want to make with it. But the others I haven't quite made up my mind. So this next one is actually all of them, the rest except for one are from UK based dyers. So this next one is from Castleview Yarns, and I actually did get her advent in 2023 as well. I think this is the only advent that I purchased in 2024 that I had in 2023. The theme for this is The Greatest Show. I think that might be a musical. I really didn't understand the reference, but I just really liked the
aesthetics of it.
I like the mood board, so yeah, that's kind of what did it for me. So this one is, I think I would describe this as like a moody, again a bit of that sort of like rainbow but not rainbow sort of style, I guess. It's just sort of like a jewel toned rainbow. So it started in these reds and then kind of went through. I don't know if this one, maybe I might use this to make like a stripy jumper. I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
This one, I think...
Would that be enough yarn to make a jumper, or would you have to have like a background colour as well?
Probably for like the cuffs and the waistband and maybe the neckband, use a contrast colour.
Yeah, just like a plain colour.
Yeah, but it's hard to... I mean, because they're all different, but I think honestly if I had to choose a favourite, I think this was my favourite.
Yeah.
And then so this one, there was 24 20 gram minis, and it's a fingering weight as well. And actually one other thing that I will say that I quite liked about this the way that, I think her name's Jen, who's from Castleview Yarns, does, is you have options. So she also has for day 20, you can opt in to get a full skein for day 25, but you don't have to. And if you want a full skein for day 25, she had the option of a sock set, which was another variegated yarn, or just a tonal. So, and in terms of a tonal, she actually also had the option of a light coloured tonal or a dark one. Okay. So you didn't know what it was going to be, but I guess, and also with the tonal, you could order as many skeins as you wanted. So if you were going to make like, a Battenberg blanket that uses basically as much of the tonal as it does of the other colours, you could order 5 or 6 skeins of this if you needed to. So I did order just one skein of the darker tonal, and it's just kind of like a dark navy. And I did also get the sock set as well, which was, I think it was this one, so called Come Alive. So that was the day 25 sock set there. I'll just obscure Pia's face so it will kind of focus.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I mean, you're allowed to have a face and show your face on the podcast. And then in true me fashion, I did also get the weekly sock set from Jen, and the theme of this one is called Never Enough, which I think is also still related to that musical, but once again, don't understand the reference, just liked the mood board and very much liked the yarn. So it is basically all pinks and purples, which is
very
this is all very much up my alley, as you can see.
And will you use those for socks, do you think? Or?
Well, I think I could actually put these together in some kind of fade, like maybe a shawl or something, because they kind of do more or less, you can make more or less a fade out of this one. So I think that is a possibility. And that one also did come with a sock set for day 25 as well, that had a 100 gram and then a 20 gram mini. So, and this advent also you got a little sort of canvas drawstring bag to keep it all together. So we're halfway there, I think. Whoops. So yes, that was Castleview Yarns. So that is that one, and now on to some more UK. Yeah, most of the ones I bought this year, I don't know why, were just from UK based dyers. So this one is, Pia, you will appreciate this theme for sure. This is the Apothecary, because if you didn't know, Pia is a pharmacist. That's her profession, I guess.
Would you be an apothecarist?
I think so, like a old-timey pharmacist. Yep. So that was the mood board for that one, and this one is from Blue Fern Yarns, and I feel like maybe she's actually even a Scottish-based yarn dyer. I think. Don't quote me on that.
I guess maybe having blue in the name because that's the colour of the Scottish flag.
I feel like maybe I'm thinking about that because I first heard about her on Amy Palco's podcast, and she is a Scottish. Yeah. So I feel like that's maybe why I think this Blue Fern Yarns is from Scotland, but I'm not too sure. She's definitely from somewhere in the UK, but I'm not 100% sure if she's Scottish.
Is Scotland still in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought they were like trying to leave at one point.
I think
like,
they
become
do. I
independent.
think they would like to be independent, but
I guess then you could say they're in the
they've
British Isles.
not quite achieved that yet. So that was Apothecary, and off the top of my head, I think the main extra that kind of stuck out, the package for this one like smelled awesome, and I was like, oh, there must be like some soap or something in here. But I think it wasn't until about day 20 that you got the thing that smelled nice.
Oh, was it just like scented paper or something?
No, it was actually this sort of aromatherapy oil diffuser, but it's it's a interesting way of doing it. I think it's like from a local producer, like local to her, obviously. It's like this glass bottle, but the top of it is wood, and you kind of just tip it over periodically so some of the oil absorbs into the wood, and then it kind of, I guess, the aroma disperses, and I think it is refillable. So yeah, that was probably the biggest kind of extra that you got with that. I think most of the other extras were like not every day, but every couple of days you got like a little chocolate kind of thing. So that was that one. Now, see, this is a bit of a...
And so, did you have a plan of what you're going to do with the blue fern?
No, not a specific plan.
Okay.
Now, I've just remembered, I guess this is... you bought too many Advents when you can't even remember what you had. Because I have just realised I did get another one from an Australian dyer. So this is from Daffodil Road. And this is their Sun Sparkles Advent. I should actually show it started from here. And this one, I might just share an image of the mood board, because they did have they did have a mood board, but you didn't, in the package, there was just like a postcard, but it said it had sort of information about the Advent, but this one doesn't have a picture as such. This one as well, so this was just, I think this was 25 20 gram minis actually, and I should say the Blue Fern one was 24 20 gram minis, and I think for both of these there wasn't a sort of a 100 gram skein for day 25, but the Daffodil Road one was another one that I felt again was good, that like it gave you options. So I opted for the yarn only option that had no extras, because I think the option for this one that did come with extras had quite a lot of extras. Like I know for sure there was a project bag, and I can't remember what else. But so the price difference for yarn versus with extras, because I guess the extras were very extra. I feel like maybe there was a price difference of about $50 or $60.
Okay.
But having said that, this actually did come with extras. So every single day with this Advent, I got a progress keeper. So I can probably give some of them to you, because, and they're sort of, it was just like a little gem on like a lobster clasp. I'll show you they're upstairs. But like I probably just don't need 25 of them kind of thing. Yeah. So every single day you actually got an extra with this, even though it was the yarn only option. This I am kind of thinking maybe it would look nice in the Anthology Throw, which is a Helen Stewart pattern. But I kind of have another Advent that I'm going to show in a second, that I kind of want to, so I guess like you could knit the same pattern twice if you wanted, and like they'd be in different colors anyway, so they would look different. But yeah, that I kind of just had more thought. Like with the other one, as soon as I started seeing the colors, I was like, I think this would work well with the Anthology Throw. All right, so we are almost finished. So this is the last one that was from a UK-based dyer, and then the last one that I'll show you is from a Norwegian dyer. So this one is from Craft House Magic, and the theme of this calendar was Woodland Wonders. So you got this sort of very sturdy like canvas tote bag that I guess you can use as a project bag that came with the Advent. And this one, again, I did opt for a weekly and a daily one. I don't know, I feel like sometimes I'm a bit sort of in for a penny, in for a pound kind of thing.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm paying for international shipping.
I think that's kind of that I've definitely, not with yarn, but like with other stuff, fallen into that trap of, you know,
make the shipping worthwhile.
yeah.
You know, why buy one when you can buy two, kind of. Yeah. I think I've definitely have kind of fallen into that kind of mindset a little bit. And I mean, I like all of this. I'm not, and I did say this on my Instagram story as well, which I've made a highlight for it. I think I've called it like 2025 stash down or something like that. I think I'm at the point where I love my yarn stash. Like, I love all the yarn that I have, but it also does overwhelm me. So I do acknowledge that I have too much yarn, and I think like for me, for the space that I have and for what I think I'm able to use, I think it is too much. So that's why for this year, and I think for me it helps like me to stick with a commitment if I tell other people about it, kind of thing. That just that accountability thing. So I do love all this yarn. I'm not sort of upset that I purchased it, but I probably did buy more than, I guess, what I maybe would have been sensible, is what I was saying.
Yeah, and I suppose maybe you could say in line with your values about how you feel about consumption and things like that.
Yeah. I guess maybe sometimes you don't practice exactly what you preach. But having said that, the theme of this calendar was, Woodland Wonders. So that is kind of the image that Ellie created as her inspiration for this calendar. And I think this one is probably the one that I think is the most similar to another one. Like, I think the Yarn Badger one that I showed, the Lapland Adventures, and this one I think are the most similar, like, to each other. Can you see that similarity?
Yeah.
So I do like both of these. So I think
I would say like pastel-y jewel tones.
Yeah. So I think for these two, I think these would be two that I definitely want to make sure I pick things that are patterns that are quite different. Because I think if I did knit the same pattern in this one and the Lapland Adventure, they will definitely end up looking
very
similar. But I think, you know, as long as you put them in different patterns, I think will be quite different. This one, I don't know, it's also just giving me sort of like cardigan vibes, like a nice stripy cardigan or something, potentially. I really do need, I know I've seen a lot of people have done those kind of videos, but that's more in like the start of December or end of November that people make those videos, like ideas for Advent knitting. So, but I think because I didn't obviously start knitting with these, I feel like I need to now go back and look at those videos to get some inspiration.
I suppose maybe it would be a bit hard to, like, before you can see like all the colours, and that'd be hard to decide on a pattern.
Yeah, and I think like some people are happy to kind of just jump in and go with it.
Yes. I suppose that you can always, you know, frog stuff if you don't like.
Yeah, and I feel maybe there are some patterns, like something like, I don't know, granny stripe blanket. I think that's going to look good in whatever yarn you do. But I feel like there's some patterns, like, I don't know, something very delicate. Like, I think this, you know, the anthology throw would look nice in this. But if you had some really sort of bright, lots of neons and things like that, maybe that just, to me, that doesn't gel kind of thing. So I think, I can't remember who it was. A podcaster I heard, she said one time, sometimes a pattern and a yarn don't make a baby. Like, just, some yarns go better with some patterns than others. And I think she was more referring to like the fibre, but I think that could also be applicable to like the colour palette and stuff like that. And so for this one I also did get the a weekly advent as well. So I can't remember. I think no, she's just got weekly advent on all of them. I don't think they came in a specific order. So this one was actually the 100 gram skein for the daily advent that came with that. So that one did come with a 100 gram skein for day 25, and then the weekly one was just for 100 gram skeins. And again, I think these will probably just be socks eventually. I feel like a lot of these, our mum would really like these colours for socks. She likes sort of like subtle pastel colours, I think. So that is Craft House Magic. And then lucky last, hopefully if you're still watching at this point, thank you very much. And maybe you can leave us a comment telling us how many Advents you bought, and maybe you will make me feel better about myself, or maybe you'll
Well, I can tell you how many I bought.
0.
Exactly.
Congratulations, Pia.
I mean, they just weren't really a thing on my radar. I didn't really.
That's true.
I mean, I did know they existed, but
So again, this one there was a mood board, but the like the card that you got just has the names of the colorways. So I will just get an image of the mood board from Selena's Instagram account. So this one was the Through the Wardrobe Yarn Co. Advent. Mm-hmm. And the theme of this one was Back Through the Wardrobe. So it's a Narnia themed Advent. And so, I don't know, some people might have seen this one on Instagram and Reddit. I think there was actually a bit of it was a bit controversial. I feel
this is the one I think I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, there were a few people sort of online that I saw, and I think I won't say who I saw, but some people were quite critical of this Advent, particularly the first couple of days. They were like, these all look exactly the same, not what a rip-off, but just
not what they were expecting.
Yeah, this isn't kind of what I paid for, and I am disappointed, basically. And I think, to be honest, with a lot of fade Advents, I think it's not going to be whoa, wow, from one day to the next. I think you have to get a few, maybe a week to kind of see
the direction.
If it's a fade, the second day is going to be very similar to the first day, obviously.
Yeah. That's kind of the whole point.
And I guess, I think maybe, I'm not criticizing Selena, but I guess maybe she didn't realize that people kind of misinterpreted. So she advertised this as a seasonal gradient. So it actually, if you look through it, this bit closest to where my hand is winter, and then these next colors, sorry, it's hard to show this holding it at the same time, is spring, and then summer, and then at this end is autumn. So I think
fall.
Yes. So I think if you if someone told you that, I think you can see the vision, but
yes.
So she said that she was very clear that it wasn't a fade, and I think some people said, because I think once you see the whole thing, you can see it's not a fade, but the first couple of days kind of looks like it's going to be a fade. I think that was maybe the issue, that some people were there's nothing wrong with them being similar because it's a fade, and then she was like, no, it's not a fade, and I was very clear that it wasn't a fade, it's a gradient. And I think I saw on Reddit a few people were kind of to me, fade and gradient
mean
the same thing. So I think maybe there was possibly some sort of misunderstandings about what it was. I personally really like it, and this is the one that I think I want to use for the anthology throw.
Yes, yeah.
I'm personally...
Yeah. I mean, I think also in general, isn't that kind of just the nature of buying an Advent, that if you are going to be unhappy if it's not sort of exactly as you imagined, that then maybe
I think if you hate surprises, just don't buy a yarn Advent.
And I think it would be fair enough, say if you had received, this is the mood thing, and then it was all bright
or
neon colours or something.
If this is the mood board and then you got this, okay, yeah, that does not reflect that.
Yes.
But I think it does. I'll share the sort of mood board. I'll get a copy of it from her Instagram.
But
or
just
something.
if you're buying an Advent of not just yarn, anything that you have to be, I don't know, to some, some of those makeup Advents or skincare or whatever.
Some of them, I think some of them
specifically what's in there.
They tell you what's in there. And I know there are some dyers that have, I guess it's a bit of a slight trend kind of thing, that I know there's a West Australian dyer called Love and Speckles that she actually shows, the full Advent is on her, I think she sells on Etsy, but you can see the whole thing. And I think it's not even... I've not purchased from her, but I from my impression is that it's not wrapped up as surprises.
Okay.
But if you just want to knit during the Advent period with everybody else and knit on an Advent, but you want to know what it's going to look like.
And I guess if you just want to buy sort of a coordinated, sort of curated
Yeah.
bulk pack of yarn.
Exactly.
Kind of, thing, of colours that go together.
And I think Louis and Lola, who I think they're Tasmanian, I know for their advent, but this year was the first time that they actually did it. Previously, they've had like a mood board and it's been a surprise and everything. This year, I think they released the colour palette. So they showed you the 24 colours, but it wasn't like the actual yarn. But I guess still, you know what the colours are going to be. And I think it was a tonal as well. So like you have a fairly clear idea of what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I feel like I watched, because Gayanne from Fibre Mates, she interviewed, I think her name is Tarina, I think, the lady from Love and Speckles. And she said this came about because one year she wanted to do advents, and I think she said she just didn't have the time or something like that to do, like to package, because it's a lot of work to package each mini skein individually kind of thing. So I think she said...
and it must be like quite stressful when they're like packing them up.
Like, did I
accidentally give someone two of the same colour?
Yeah,
or like
I'm sure that does happen every
from
once in a blue moon kind of thing.
Yeah. But I guess it probably just takes a lot of organisation.
Yeah, I think it definitely would. And a lot of space to sort of have it all laid out, and probably takes over your house for a little while, especially because like I think a lot of indie dyers do dye in like a studio in their garage or something like that. So I think she said she just didn't have the sort of time or energy or whatever to do advents as a surprise, so she decided I'll just offer it like this and see, you know, not really thinking that people would like it because,
popular
you know, thinking, oh, well, isn't the whole point of an advent is that it's a surprise? And she said a lot of people actually really liked that option. So I guess if you don't want a surprise, that option is available. And I guess you could also make your own advent out of your mini skeins in your stash, or go to a yarn store that sells minis or whatever. But yeah, I guess there is that element that if you do have to be prepared, that I think it should reflect the mood board, but it is obviously the dye's interpretation of the mood board. And to me, a little bit of that controversy felt like that people were upset that it didn't reflect their interpretation of the mood board. And it's like, well, you didn't dye it, so why would it? So the very last thing I have to show is that I did also get Selena's weekly advent, which this one was also Narnia themed, but it was the Kings and Queens of Narnia. So this one, so her daily one was 24 days, but the weekly one was 5 100-gram skeins, and they're for each of the Kings and Queens of Narnia. I think I've watched the movie, but I don't think I've ever read the book. So, and I don't know, this colour palette and just like the whole theming of it and stuff really made me want to, or feel like I should. Like, and I do remember enjoying the movie, but I don't think it's on Netflix, so maybe I'll have to see where else I could stream it. So these are the 5 Kings and Queens of Narnia. So there's Queen Susan the Gentle, is this sort of light pinky purple one. Queen Lucy the Valiant is this sort of yellow with kind of peachy colours in there as well. Prince Caspian the Seafarer is this sort of very light blue, sort of variegated. King Peter the Magnificent is this sort of blue and green one. And King Edmund the Just is like this nice variegated teal. So yeah, I really like all of those. Those ones I think could also be made into a fade, or I could just use them as individual skeins.
Or for socks.
Yeah, so...
You know, actually what Queen Susan the Gentle reminds me of.
Oh, Susie.
Yes.
Pia's dog, Susie.
She's quite sort of reserved and polite.
She has a very gentle nature.
She is Queen Susan the Gentle.
There we go.
That can be her new nickname.
Yes, her other name is Lazy Susan, because she can also be a bit lazy. So, yeah, so those were all the advents I got. So, yeah, for this year, I think I definitely want to get, if you're happy to do that, to help me out with that, make
For
me
a small fee. I'm just kidding.
An advent out of my stash. I may purchase an advent, but I guess like with my sort of wanting to use double, then
You've just got to use quite a bit. Before
yeah, and I would have to use it kind of like soon, because like a lot of advents go on
pre-orders.
sale in, you know,
Mid-year
May or
or
whatever,
something,
and some of them sell out. So I guess and I mean, I'm hoping that I'll be able to maintain that mentality of like, if I miss out, it is what it is kind of thing.
Yeah, and like presumably most of these dyers do an advent every year. So if you miss
Yeah.
out on this year's one, it's not the end of the world.
No, it's
You
it's
can always
definitely
do
not.
another one next year. Or
Yeah, and I mean, they won't have exactly the same thing in the future, but
But I guess in general, the like advent will follow the overall sort of aesthetic of
and
that
vibe
dyer.
and vibes of that
Like
dyer.
it's not like, you know, the Greatest Show on Earth or whatever, one that was quite vibrant. I presume that dyer doesn't do sort of all pastels kind of thing normally.
No, not really. And I mean, I guess that's the other thing, just going back to, I mean, I don't want to sort of flog a dead horse, but like Selena, through the Wardrobe Yarn Co., like most of the colours that she does are very sort of like subtle pastel colours. So for people to say, oh, this is too subtle, I don't know, it's kind of like, well, have you looked at the other yarn that she dyes? Like, it's all kind of that kind of vibe. So,
Yeah.
Overall, I was very happy with all of the advents that I purchased.
Yes.
And to be honest, yeah, there were some that I really liked and didn't purchase as well. But yeah, I guess you've got to
you have to draw a line.
somewhere. And I think one thing, I didn't purchase any from any dyes in the US this year, because I think just like the shipping costs from the US have become like prohibitive. Like there was one advent that
that the shipping is almost as much as the actual advent itself.
Yeah, I really did like the Ruby and Roses. Like, I just liked her mood board, and I really do like most of the colours that she does. So I think I really would have liked it. But with the advent, and like I think at the time the Australian dollar was also not very good, and then the shipping and everything, it was going to be like over $500.
Oh gosh.
That I was just like, you can't justify that. No. Like, you could buy 2 advents from an Australian dyer for that price. Like, that's just too much money.
Yeah.
And I think also, I don't know if it's something to do with their shipping laws or like our shipping laws or something like that, but you
get charged GSTs all day.
Yeah, in the past when you ordered from overseas, like you didn't have to pay the sales tax, but now we, like ordering from Australia, like from a US-based website, they add...
I don't know if some of that also depends what state in the US they're based in, because I feel like their sales tax differs between different states.
Yeah. But I was just like, no, I can't. That's just too much money. And I think probably a lot of it is to do with that. Like, not that her yarn is a rip-off, but like once you add in all these additional things of taxes and shipping and the conversion from Australian to US, it becomes very expensive. Yeah. So I think that's just an unfortunate reality. And I guess like the other thing is like, I mean, I'm not really sort of, again, practicing what I preach, because I only bought, 2 of the advents that I bought were from Australian dyers. The rest were from sort of the UK and Europe. But like there's so many very talented dyers in Australia
to support kind of
that
local dyers.
It probably makes a bit more sense from a financial perspective, but also just even from an environmental perspective as well, to support local businesses rather than purchasing from overseas. And I guess also that maybe you have a little bit more, like some of the like Australian dyers would be people that you've even met at like markets and things like that. So maybe it's a bit nicer to kind of show them your support.
Yeah. Can I ask sort of like a practical question?
Yeah.
Not to ask like what is the cost of an advent, but how does the cost of purchasing an advent compare to buying, say, like 25 minis from that dye? Like, do you find that advents are like an economical way to purchase if you want to purchase like
a lot of minis,
bulk amount of yarn? Or
that's a tough question.
Pretty much
so it's definitely more expensive than buying like 100 grams, an equivalent amount of 100 gram skeins.
Yeah.
And I think that is fair, because I think it's a lot more work to dye minis. And I actually didn't even think about this, but at one of our knitting meetups, Chloe from Woolen Works was there, and she was kind of talking about advents. But she said even just like the twisting the yarn, for a mini you actually have to twist more times to twist it into a hank than for a 100 gram skein. So it's like, it's not just... Yeah, it's and then packaging, like, even if you just buy, cheap paper bags from the supermarket or whatever, just like the time required to put everything in packaging and label the packages so people know what day is what. So it definitely is not an economical way to purchase yarn compared to 100 gram skeins. But compared to just purchasing minis, I am honestly not sure. I probably have to
But maybe I
do
guess it
some
maybe
maths.
varies.
I mean, a lot of these indie dyes like don't normally have minis anyway.
Okay.
Like a lot of them, that's really the only way you can get minis is in an advent. But yeah, as to whether if you just wanted to kind of like build a stash of minis, is
or like
buying
make
an advent.
your own sort of fade out of minis kind of thing.
Yeah. Would you be better off just buying minis individually?
But it sounds like from what you're saying that it might not really be possible.
Well, it probably wouldn't be
dye.
possible from the one dyer. You might have to make it from a few different dyers. So I'm not too sure, but it definitely is more expensive than buying 100 gram skeins of yarn. But I think the additional cost does reflect
the amount of work that goes
additional
into it.
amount of work. And I'm sure as well, to make an advent, they obviously have to do a lot of trial runs to make sure,
Yes.
do these fit the mood board, but they're different enough that they're different days and things like that. So there probably is a fair bit of yarn that they use in that process.
Yes, doing like testing different.
And I think it's fair enough that the cost
dyes
of the
and stuff.
advent also reflects
Definitely.
the costs
Just the overall cost
and
for them
time invested in that sort of
making them.
development process as well.
That's definitely fair.
So yeah, they're expensive, but not. I think there's a difference between something being expensive and something being a rip-off.
Yes,
if you know
expensive
what I
just
mean.
means it costs a lot of money. A rip-off means it wasn't worth the price.
Exactly. So I think it's fair that they're more expensive, but yes, they are, like, it definitely is like a luxury purchase for sure. I mean, I think all hand-dyed yarn is a luxury purchase, but advents in particular, and I guess like some dyers seem to do more on the sort of in terms of the extras side of things than others, and I think some dyers you do get a choice about that, whether you want a project bag or
so I guess that would be an option if you're trying to make it more economical.
it's maybe
more affordable.
And there are also some dyers that do 12-day, like I know Tess from Fluff and Nonsense, she did a 12-day advent.
Like if people still want to participate, but for it to be a bit more affordable.
Yeah, and there are also, I think it's less common, but I did see a couple, but off the top of my head, I can't remember specifically who. I have seen a couple that also do like a 24-day, but 10 grams per day.
Okay.
So that's an option as well, I guess, or you could also, buy an advent and split it with a friend.
Yeah.
So that you either get half the days or like each person gets every second day, because you could still make that into a fade if it was a fade, or that each person, you split it 10 grams of yarn each.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it for our sort of Advent recap. Hopefully our Advent recap for 2025 will be a much shorter video, because I won't have as many. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, even if it's just like a, peek into a portion of my yarn stash. I hope you did enjoy the video. I will leave, obviously, you can't get these advents anymore because they're from 2024, but I will leave the details of each of the dyes that I purchased from in the description box if you kind of like their style and you wanted to kind of check them out. And I'll try and leave the, country of each, like if you think I want to buy from someone in the UK, because I am in the UK, that type of thing. I'll leave that info as well. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Happy to hear if you've got a good recommendation for a dye that makes really nice advents. You can definitely leave it in the comments. Not for me to consider, but for other people to consider. Like, I don't think I need any more help with buying yarn, but other people might like to know. I guess particularly
maybe I'll buy an advent next year.
maybe some of those sort of less conventional options, like if you know of other dyes that you can see the whole 24 days before you buy, or if you know of dyes that have 10 gram options or 12-day options, maybe that will be helpful for people who are looking for the sort of maybe slightly less conventional advent choices. That might help as well. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. Please do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. It just helps our channel. Obviously, only do it if you like the video, but hopefully you did.
If you made it this far.
Yeah, if you're still listening, you obviously did like the video. And if you want to see more of our videos, so we intersperse a knit and chat with a regular podcast where we talk about FOs, whips, and all of that jazz. So that will be hopefully our next video episode. After this one will be a regular podcast episode. But until our next video, we wish you happy stitching. Bye.